So this is Dean Walton. He is the Associate Dean of Administration and Admissions. He's for Regent University School of Law. Dean Walton serves as an Associate Dean of Administration and Admissions, Director of Regent Law Center for Global Justice, and Assistant Professor, where he has taught various courses, including sales, business structures and agency, international law, national security law, and international business transactions. Outside of his work at Regent, Ernie served as a law clerk to the Honorable D. Arthur Kelsey of the Virginia Supreme Court. He also practiced law in Southern California at Tyler and Birch LLP, where he specialized in civil litigation and business law. He also simultaneously served as an associate attorney at Advocates for Faith and Freedom, a nonprofit law firm that specializes in protecting religious freedom. Through Advocates, Ernie represented various churches in RLUIPA cases and helped defend pastors who were arrested for evangelizing on public property, among other things. At Regent, Ernie graduated first in his class, serves as the notes and comments editor of Regent University Law Review, and clerked for the American Center for Law and Justice. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. That is an impressive background, and I'm sure
you're most welcome. Well, thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you. And I know your input will be appreciated here by amongst other students. So first, just to start, if you could just give a background on what led you to admissions, what you like about the admissions department, and any other background information regarding, I guess, law.
Yeah, great question. I actually joined Regent Law School after a few years of practice and clerking, and started my career in the law school world as the director of our Center for Global Justice. A year after coming back to Regent, the dean approached me about joining our admissions team. And I said, no, I didn't want to do admissions. I wanted to focus on my work in the Center for Global Justice and couldn't really see how I would enjoy the admissions work. So I stayed on at Regent for a few more years and started teaching. And then the next dean approached me in 2017. So I'd been at Regent now for, I guess that was 4 years in, and asked me to serve as the dean of admissions. And you can imagine my initial thought was no, I'm not inclined to do this. But I actually, stopped, prayed, and thought about it a little bit and realized, what, this was something I really would enjoy. And I mostly enjoy it because, first, I believe in Regent Law's mission. I love this school. As a graduate of Regent University School of Law, I know the quality of education I received. I received an incredible legal education in a great community, in a wonderful Christian environment. And so I figured, man, if I love Regent this much, it'll be really fun to talk with people about Regent and tell them about my story. And, the dean explained, well, yeah, that's really what I want you to do, in your role as admissions, is talking with students, sharing your experience. So I agreed to join the admissions team and serve as the dean of admissions in 2017. And needless to say, it's been a great 5 years. I have loved my job in admissions. I get to wear a bunch of hats at Regent, but I think maybe admissions might be my favorite hat because I get to meet incredible students, share the mission of Regent Law, and help them discern, where they might want to go to law school. And hopefully they choose Regent, but if there's a better place for them out there, I want them to go, to whatever school is best for them. So I really love admissions because I love Regent, I love people, and I love helping students discover sort of their calling and the best place for them.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. That is very helpful for everyone, and I appreciate it. So I'm just going to dive into some questions. I have kind of a guideline of questions and kind of questions that fellow students or potential, law school candidates would like to be asked. So the first thing is really the big thing, obviously, with COVID coming into play, and just probably a split of people who are good at kind of that standardized testing and not. How does your school, or I guess you personally, as you are one of the representatives, the main representative in the admission school, feel about the multiple scores in regard to the LSAT?
Yeah, great question. We certainly look at every score, and we encourage students to take it more than once. We on the admissions committee expect students to do better. We know there's nerves the first time. I took it. I significantly increased my score, on the second time I took it. And so I think 2 scores is probably what we would say is representative of your abilities. Sometimes if there's a big disparity, we'll encourage applicants to take it a third time to kind of prove, hey, which is the real score? Is it the first one, the second one? But I don't think we look, down on as a committee, multiple scores. And we actually encourage students and tell them to plan on taking it twice, because they'll likely be able to do probably what is their real capability, the second time. As they study more, the nerves are, down a little bit. They've gone through the process, especially with it being online. And so we, but beyond 2 scores, rarely, we would not encourage you probably more than that, unless, again, there's a big disparity between the 2 scores and we can't really tell, which is the real score.
Okay. And upon that second test, if it's a little bit higher than the first one, but not up to, I guess, the acceptance rate for your school, is it just kind of end game for applying for Regent, or is it looked down upon to take it a third time?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Yeah, absolutely. We will, if you're in the ballpark, you can certainly still get into Regent Law, even with an LSAT score below our median. Obviously, half the class is below the median. And so oftentimes we actually give students an opportunity to say, hey, your score is good enough to get in. And here's an offer of admission. Here's a scholarship. Might not be as much as you want, but we'll give them a chance to take it a third time and actually increase their scholarship as part of their offer of admissions. If they don't get in, the second time, but they're sort of steadily improving, we might say, take a chance a third time, at least if they're in the ballpark and within striking distance. We want to be, of course, fair and real with applicants and what they would expect. But if there's 2 scores that are very low and sort of outside of the ballpark for Regent Law, then yeah, probably we would say, you're going to have a tough time getting in, even with improvement.
Got it. Okay. Fair enough. And then I wanted to say, just on the topic of candidates, what would you look for that would stand out among one candidate versus another, or what do you look for in kind of talented candidates applying to your school?
Yeah, great question. And I think it's probably, a little bit similar for every school and a little bit different from every school. On some level, Regent is a unique school in that we have a Christian mission that really sets us apart from a lot of other law schools. And so one of the significant things we're looking for is students who want to come to Regent because of our mission. And that certainly is different than many schools, but a lot of other schools have great missions as well. And so they want students who align with their unique mission. And then for us, that's coming to a school that students want a particular type of legal education, where of course they're going to be taught to be great lawyers. We are committed to providing first and foremost a great legal education, but to doing it in a Christian context. And so we want students who demonstrate in their application that that's the type of education they're seeking. But of course, in addition, we want students who are going to be great lawyers. And what makes a great lawyer? Of course, we're going to look at the LSAT, the GPA, professor letters, but then it's students who are, who clearly are making something, doing something with their lives, showing that they're pursuing law for a reason, for a calling, for a purpose, to serve, right? To serve others. And you can tell from students' resumes, from their extracurriculars, are they really in it for themselves? Are they pursuing the legal profession to serve others? And that's certainly something we're looking for at Regent, and I think other schools are as well. And so we definitely pour into students' resumes, and on the academic side, I think what sets students apart is transcripts. A lot of time, not all GPAs are created equal. So even a student with a lower GPA, but if they're taking extremely hard courses, difficult courses, a lot of times those students might be better prepared for law school than, some of your more fluff transcripts that we'll see. So we actually will really dig through, a student's transcript and look at the individual course titles to try to get a feel for the rigor of their education.
Got it. And just to go off the Christian goal, I'm Italian, but I'm not really religious. So does that disable me, or not disable, but lessen the chance of me being accepted because I'm not religious myself, and I wouldn't want that to be misrepresented for not living, a life of helping people or a life of good faith just because.
Yeah, no, great question. Yeah, we absolutely have and welcome people from all different faiths, all different backgrounds, no faith. And we have plenty of students who are not Christians or don't share our faith. And so, but we do give a preference, and we state that in our application up front to say, we give a preference to students who fit with our mission, but we're very thankful that we have students who come who are, don't necessarily share our beliefs, but they love it here. They get a great legal education. They're in a great environment and supported and encouraged. And we're very proud of that fact. And that's important to us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then just more so, what other factors play in your acceptance and decisions? Specifically, I've been asked this a bunch by friends, fellow people on the LSAT Unplugged. If you possibly get a lower LSAT score, but you have a really good personal statement, you've gone through something that's really challenged you and gotten you to the point of wanting to be a lawyer, how much of a factor does that play into the overall acceptance?
Yeah, great question. On some level, there's I would say there's the primary pieces of the academic side. I mean, I always say law school is school. It's still school. It's hard school. It's very difficult, but it's school. And so we need to be convinced as an admissions committee that you can do school, right? That you can get through this 3 years rigorous program. We really are serious that we don't want to admit people who probably are not going to get through, fail out the first year. We don't want to take your money. We don't believe it's moral, ethical. Now, maybe you can do it. Maybe you can see it. And of course, that's what we're trying to figure out, to give those students a chance who might have that lower LSAT score. And that when the LSAT score is lower, we really would like to see a higher GPA, really strong letters of recommendation, because we need to see not just that you're passionate, but that you're academically capable. Passion is important. Hard work is really important, but you've got to be able to prove it in an academic context. In law school, even students who are smart, if just being smart's not enough in law school, you got to have good study skills, diligence and perseverance, note taking. These skills really matter. And so even students who have lower LSAT scores for Regent, if you've got a strong GPA and some professors who are, willing to get behind you and stand in your corner and say, give this student a chance. We love to give those types of students a chance and welcome them to Regent.
Okay, awesome. And just going off of that, I know you look at everything in depth, the courses that a candidate took and everything of that nature. How do you guys feel about just walk-ins or, random kind of calls just to speak with someone? Just because I understand you guys look at everything, which is fair. But my experience, I've come from a background where my high school admissions counselor told me I was never going to go to a top tier school. And that was just because they looked at my courses, they looked at the grades I got. I was not the best in high school, but then I went on to Northeastern University and it was number 2 in the nation for our program. So in essence, I proved the people wrong who statistically have, a good analysis of how you're going to do. So I just wanted your input on that and I only got that way from going to the admissions department in Northeastern, talking to the financial aid and kind of, making them see a person, not just a name. So I just wanted to see your feelings on that.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. And I love students who kind of show that courage, that moxie. And I have those students who show up at Regent or they call for a tour and ask to meet with me. And, I try to meet with them whenever that happens and hear their story, talk to them. Obviously, I'm one vote on the admissions committee, but it does matter. I think, I can't say it overcomes everything, but yeah, seeing the person, meeting them, hearing from them, again, I'm one vote, but I appreciate students who have that perseverance, that grit to show up and say, here I am, give me a chance.
Awesome. Thank you for, that answer. And then just, I'll combine these two things with how early should an applicant consider preparing for admissions? And I know that the first year and second year in the COVID pandemic, a lot of people were taking the LSAT just because they considered going back to school with the way the market was. How do you feel about the timeline of a student applying kind of mid-cycle, which is, I guess, right around the corner, November, December, January, versus right out the gate, August 1st, September 1st? And with COVID, do you see more applicants now this semester coming up or this cycle versus it kind of tapering off?
Sure. Yeah, obviously, it depends on the school. For us, we actually don't even start admitting people until November. And so, we kind of hold our first big admissions committee meeting in November, begin going through all the files and try to get out a big bunch of decisions, sort of a happy Thanksgiving. So whether a student applies to us, in between August or really October, you're still the earliest applicants for my school. That's not the case for every school. But it's best to be in whatever the timeline is, for the schools you're applying to. For Regent, you want to be in that early time frame. All the spots are available, all the honor spots are available, all the scholarship money's available. And so it's just the way the game works. The early bird often catches the worm. And so there's just an advantage. Now, that doesn't mean you can't get in. You can't get significant scholarships as well throughout the cycle. It just, begins to slowly, the money, the spots slowly fill up. The money starts to run out, right? And so earlier is better. But for us, again, it's really between August and October is that early window. And then we start, making those decisions. And then really we're taking applications even up through the summer. I mean, there's a very few spots left, but we still do get applications later, the summer right before law school. We'll consider them. It's tougher obviously to get in and there's not as many spots, so you better have a stronger application. But students can continue to apply, and we encourage applications all throughout the year. And if we can't get you in this year, we'll turn around and make you an offer for next year. I think your second question then was forecasting, this admissions cycle and what I think it might look like. I was reading, some admissions data the other day from LSAT and trying to read the tea leaves and get their sense. It seems like, we're going to be down a little bit is my guess this year, but not significantly. And that's my hope, is it'll still be a pretty big year. But maybe a small drop overall in numbers.
Okay, awesome. And I really appreciate that. The answer right now in the first one of just not completely cutting off the student. If it is late in the semester, if they needed, a few more months for studying, you would offer them something for the next cycle. I actually really like that and respect that of a school. So
we do. We really do. I mean, we're up through May, we still have, room left. And so anybody who's watching, you're applying to Regent Law, apply even all through the spring, all through the summer. You still got a good chance. We're not cutting you off. So definitely apply.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think people who are considering your school would actually appreciate that too, just as a sense of relief, just that there is possibly a spot, not this cycle, but always the next cycle. So thank you for that. And then just kind of a few more questions. How is your view on non-traditional students? Now, myself, I'm 25. I graduated my master's right when the pandemic hit. So I went a few months without a job. Obviously, everything was shut down. I've been working now for two years outside, not in the college field. And I wanted to see how you guys look upon that. Obviously, my letters of recommendation will be more, and other students as well will be more towards fellow work staff and everything of that nature. Does that decrease your chances of being outside of the college graduate years, basically?
It doesn't. We actually really like the non-traditional students. I think because of our unique mission, we get people second career. Because we're in a military town, we get a lot of retired men and women who've served in the military for 20 years, and just people changing careers, or moms who have always wanted to go to law school and finally can, or dads who want to change their job. And so we have, I don't know if it's 20% of our student body is probably the non-traditional student. That ranges anywhere from 3-4 years out of law school or out of undergrad to 20 plus years out of undergrad. And what we have found is it just creates, a great, an aspect to the student body of experience, of maturity, of friendships across generations. They provide unique experiences from life in the classroom. So, I would say absolutely not. It doesn't, at least for Regent, it does not in any way hinder your chances whatsoever at all.
Awesome. Thank you for that answer. And just going off of more kind of the non-traditional student and the right fit for Regent, how do you, now I know I'm going to combine these questions again, so if it's kind of confusing or a lot, please let me know, I'll just split it up. But how is kind of your approach to viewing, the process of an applicant submitting the resume, LSAT score, letter of recommendation, your process of looking it over, and how does that encompass? I know you said you do a full search of your students. Does the family factors come into play there? I know that you're obviously with a Christian school. If you have a family member that possibly didn't go the right path, either served prison, had a hard time, does that play in a factor in admissions?
Yeah, again, I think it's similar in that we want families to be here. We want non-traditional applicants to be here. We love giving people second chances. We believe, our Christian mission, that's what the gospel is. It's a second chance on some level that we're offered the grace of God. And so there's a lot of students who have come here and turned their lives around and just find great community, a great environment. One of my best friends in law school was one of those students. And I would never have known until he told me his third year of law school, his story. His name's Jesse Weiss. I'm sure he wouldn't mind me sharing his story. He was a convicted felon. And Regent let him in and gave him a chance. And he is an incredible man, an incredible lawyer, just got licensed after 10 years fighting with the Character and Fitness Committee. And I'm so proud of Regent for taking a chance on him. And he was just the greatest guy. And he's such a loving guy. Now he works practicing law, but also working for an organization called Prison Fellowship, where they work to do prison reform and helping give people second chances and legislative reform to make this possible. And we're so proud to have a Regent Law graduate like that, representing who we are and what we do. So I would say, again, just with what I said with the non-traditional applicant, no, obviously we're going to look at the whole package and want you to be able to succeed academically. And then, of course, fit with the mission here at Regent. And if you're on board with those things, we want you here.
Awesome. Yeah. No, thank you for that answer. That is a very inspirational story. Disclaimer, I was not arrested myself, but I do have a family member who went through that process. So I know obviously it's human nature to make assumptions and everything like that. So I just wanted to clarify that, because that is something that in my personal thing, if you look at the family member, they were, it's out there. So I just wanted to ask that just in terms of that background. And then one final kind of two questions. What do you look for in a student upon entering Regent and by the time they leave Regent?
Yeah, that's a great question. I get to run our orientation, and so when students come, what I really love to see is both confidence and humility. Confidence that they've been called here, that they're called to be lawyers, that God has brought them to this school. And then humility that you don't know anything. And hopefully, if they're humble, our job as a school is to shape, to mold them, to prepare them to be great lawyers who are going to serve with a purpose, who are going to be lawyers with a purpose, not just serving themselves. So that humility to come in, I love to see students who come in with humility, because it enables the professors to do what they're good at. And that's molding, shaping, discipling, helping students obviously completely change the way they think, to think like a lawyer, and to immerse themselves in this profession that is such a great profession for serving others. And so I love to see that confidence, but humility when students come in, and the conversations that I get to have with incoming students. When they leave, I hope it's almost the same thing, though, on some level, that now, wow, I have been given this gift of 3 years of legal education, this great opportunity that I have to go serve a great profession, to serve people in need. But humility that they still need to learn a lot, right? There's a ton that you have to learn out in the field at the same time. We do a really good job of preparing our students for the practice of law. Practical skills training is a huge focus at Regent, but there's still a ton you've got to learn out in practice. So just staying humble, just because you finish law school doesn't mean you know everything. Being humble when you go out and before the judge, before your clients, and before the partners at your firm, it just makes for a great attorney.
Awesome. Thank you for that answer. And just one final question. What's your, I guess, advice for any applicants coming into Regent, or what's your favorite aspect of the school that maybe you didn't know about when you first were there, and then just like anyone going to school, you kind of pick up on things about the school that's unique and very cool in that way. So just any thoughts or anything?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll share a little of my story. I wanted to be a missionary, and that might sound strange. I did not want to go to law school. I wanted to go overseas and be a missionary. And I sensed that God was continuing telling me to go to law school, and it didn't make sense to me. And then I heard about this issue of human trafficking, that we needed more lawyers. There was an organization called International Justice Mission that said, we need more lawyers who are going to go out and fight human trafficking. And I thought, man, I can get behind this. And so then I realized, I believe that God had called me to be a lawyer to do this type of work. And so I started looking at law schools and had never heard of Regent, and was thinking that I wanted to be trained to be a Christian lawyer. I believe that this was my call from God. And so I finally heard of Regent and got really excited because it was a Christian law school that would help me think through the law as a Christian and then practice with integrity like a Christian. And so what I guess I was so pleasantly surprised at when I got to Regent was, yes, it was a serious Christian school, everything I thought, but it was an incredible legal education. I got the best legal education I could have imagined at Regent. I was so prepared for the bar, so prepared for practice. When I went out to the firm, to my clerkship, I was so prepared to do what lawyers needed to do, to think like a lawyer. And so I would just say to students, if you're looking at Regent, know you're going to get a great Christian environment, unlike, pretty much any other school in the nation, supportive, wonderful community, but you're going to get an incredible legal education that I'm so thankful for personally, having gone through, and how well it prepared me for the profession of being a lawyer.
Awesome. Oh, and then just one final question. I made this one up and I really wanted to ask it. I've read a lot about, I'm in New York, obviously. So most likely I want to live in New York, the area of the tri-state area. So, most likely apply here. But I wanted to ask, if I was considered, or other students, Regent, I think you guys are in Virginia, if that's correct, right?
Correct.
Yes. Do you recommend going to the school, looking to practice in Virginia, or are there resources at your school that could help them, center more on, let's say, New Jersey state law, federal law, New York law, Connecticut, any other states? I wanted to quickly ask that.
Yeah, it's a great question. I really, and that's an important question for every applicant. And Regent is really a national school. Every year, about half of our student body comes from Virginia, and then half is literally from all over the United States. You pick it, it's coming from everywhere. And so when students graduate, I bet it's typically about half are staying in Virginia, and then half are going all over the country. So we have been very intentional through our career services office, through our alumni network, to help students get jobs wherever they want to be. And that's, of course, starts with internships in the summer. So kind of wherever you want to be, we are committed to helping you get an internship in your home state, building that network. We actually started a program called an apprenticeship program, where you can do a whole semester. It's typically your last semester, but sometime during your 3L year, where you can work, get up to 10 credits in your hometown, and also take an online elective or two and finish your law school career out, where you're building your network, practicing, getting credit. Lord willing, then it leads to a job, right? You prove yourself and you get a job. So we've really been creative to say, look, if you want to come to Regent, you want our unique mission, but you want to go back to whatever state, go to California. That's where I got a job. I practiced in California before, coming back to Regent. We're going to help you do that. And so it is an important factor. Of course, schools that are local have a great network, a great advantage. I won't pretend that Regent has the best network in every state. We don't, and if it's really important to you you want to be all in for whatever state and get into the bar early, I get it. Stay home in your state. But Regent's got a great mission, a great legal education, and we can still help you get to whatever state you want to go to.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. That's all the questions I have. Any questions that you have for to ask prospective students, anything of that nature?
I think I'm good, Clint. I'm all set.
All righty. Well, I appreciate it again. Dean Walton, if you're ever in New York, make sure to get Sicilian food, not Italian, Sicilian.
Deal. Love it.
So make sure to do that. And thanks again. I actually really, this has been very instrumental. Even if students, not in the Virginia area, it has provided background on, a lot of the admissions department philosophies. Obviously, it's not going to be shared by all schools, but it does seem like a common theme. And you guys have been, every admissions counselor or in the department I've spoken to has been very kind. So I really appreciate that.
My pleasure, Clint. Thanks for all you guys are doing. Appreciate LSAT Plugged and all you're doing to get students ready for law school, for the LSAT. Keep up the great work.